Hi guys, same day, different video. Welcome back to the garage. I'm back on with this cross member. Yeah, I'll keep this introduction short. I think I pretty much said everything in the last video. So, well, basically, we'll get straight on it, shall we? Right, where did I get to? I was talking about wiring, and if I put you there, can you see? Possibly when I go and get my torch. Not much changes. Disorganised as always. Right, so hoping you can see when that torch sticks. What I've done, sorry, I've got the camera on the stand and it's a bit annoying. I've measured it from there to where the weld stops, just there, just to get a rough idea of where to cut. Just a rough idea for now. So I measured it from there to there, and I think it was like 11.5 inches or thereabouts, and that's that mark there. But what I'm going to cut off is a little bit more. I'd rather have to cut more off than, sorry, put the video up, put the camera up. I'd rather have to cut more off than have to add metal in. It's a lot easier. So measure that across there, take half an inch off, quarter inch off, whatever, off your measurement, and then we'll cut down there. The only tricky bit about this is cutting across there, but we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So you've got to measure it both sides of the chassis plus both sides of each chassis rail, and mark it up to clean it back. Make sure you've got some good metal to weld to in the first place. It's not worse than trying to weld to rusty metal, and it kind of defeats the point really, because all it's going to do is rot out again. So it gets past the worst of the rot, which actually, usually with rot, it goes quarter inch to half inch past where it seems solid. So it seems solid there. So we'll go quarter inch, half inch past, which brings us to there. But we'll eventually be cutting to around there anyway. So yeah, that's not a problem. All that's rock solid, both sides. So it's had a patch on the bottom, if you can see. I can't see if you can see, but there you go. And that's it. So we'll mark all that up, or should I say, I'll mark all that up. I'll start making some cuts and see if we can get this off today, and the new one in place, tacked in place, ready to go. Hopefully, it's not a big process. It's not a complicated process. You just got to measure it and cut basically. So I'll not video all the cutting and messing around like that, because it's just noise and sparks. Right, so I've put a big cut up there, and I've cut this little section out there so I can see the wiring. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the wiring is there. So now I should be able to, well, you probably can't see very well, but hopefully I can get in and start shoving the wiring back down the chassis. It's not hooked on everything. You could grab it at the other end and try and pull it through that way, but it's a bit of a pain in the arse, and you're not really seeing much there, are you? So we'll shove it in like that, and hopefully we'll then be able to shove it down there out of the way. I might have to cut a slightly bigger hole in there to oh, we can even just don't forget to check it once you've pulled it out. Before you put it back in, just give it a once over in case you've snagged it on a bit of sharp metal or something like that. You don't want to be putting half shredded live wires through there. That's that bit. This is the bit that goes to the other side of the chassis for the left hand side lights. So now you know where it is. you can pretty much put it where you want out the way and cut round it. See, I know now it's on this side, so I can cut the other side without any fuss, hopefully. So guys, you can see I've cut through along the bottom there, started closing up, and as far as I can get across the top with the angle grinder. And what I'm going to try and get in there now is this reciprocating saw. If I can get you somewhere like where you might be able to see what I'm doing, I'll try anyway. It's a bit awkward, so I'm going to try and get in as best I can. Normally I have somebody helping me do this, but I'm on my own today, so I'll try and get through it but without damaging the tub. Nah, it's not quite lining up on the other side. I'll have to get the grinder on the other side in a minute. Well, that did it some good, didn't it? Bent like a bloody banana. Oh well, that's my bad. I think I just need to nick it with grinder on the other side. But it went through the top, all the way through the top fine. So I'm happy with that. I'll try and get under there with the grinder now from the other side and change this blade. That went really well. So I've got the axle, the trolley jack under the back end to just try and support as much as it can. Like I said, normally I'd have somebody holding it, but we'll see if we can do this on my own. It's coming off one way or another. I've left a little bit, literally 5mm still on the other side, so it shouldn't drop massively. I'm going to cut all the way through this side now. I cut them, the two lines on the other side, they weren't quite lining up properly. I'd cut a little bit, you know, I said to cut off less than you think you're going to need. Well, I cut a bit less on the other side, so hopefully if I plug this in, we'll get straight through this, no problem. Snag the blade already. Right, that's that. So now there should only really be that couple of mil on the other side. Hopefully that won't cause a problem, and I better get into it in a minute once I've dropped this down a bit. So we'll put you back there out of the way. There's my torch. It's the awkwardest little bit I've ever seen. It's a pain to get to. I didn't put too much thought into where I was, the little bit I was leaving on. There we go. Just double check, you can't see nothing still attached, so hopefully this will come off just like that. Take you off there. And that's it. Mud everywhere. I've put my torch down again. It's up there, look. You know, the inside of them chassis rails looks really good. Really happy with that. It's still got factory paint on inside there. And that's it. That's off. So you've got these holes now to line it up. So that shouldn't be a problem. What I'll do is, once it's all done, I'll inject some cavity wax or something all the way down the inside of the chassis rails. Right, now I need to measure up a bit more and get that into place. Happy days. So this is now it's 2 days later. You see, I've cut a cross out in the where it's going to weld up to the chassis. Right, both sides. Cleaned all the paint off. Well through primer. Got a bit of repair work to do there before it goes on, which I'll do shortly. The hardest bit's cleaning on top of there, but if you take your time, you can get it done. Yeah, I'm going to cut that section out there, replace that, because it's all gone on the bottom. So I'll do that, and then I'll cut back and we'll be fitting this on. I've test fitted it a couple of times. I've cut back as far as I need to go on there. One thing I need to do, because while I was doing it, test fitting, I took the wiring down in there, out the way, so that needs to come out. So we'll get that out, and hopefully we'll have this on today, all being well. So I need to turn that round, thread the wiring through, and yeah, offer it up and see how it goes. Right, you can see I've got the wiring tucked through there. Pull that through. With a bit of luck. I'll get down there, you awkward bugger. It should more or less sort of. Oh, you bugger. Should have got the jack out. Right. That'll do. It catches on this capping on this side. The capping's bent. So, but they're both coming off. They're both bent up, so they're both coming off anyway. Right. And the holes don't line up 100% perfectly, but I don't think the crossmember that was on wasn't an original crossmember. So I noticed a couple of these mounting brackets weren't 100% straight. Right, nuts and bolts. Before I start welding, I'm going to bolt all this up tightly. If I can get my hand round. Right, tell you what, I'll get these bolts in across here and then we'll come back. It's all bolted up all the way across the back, about straight as I can get it. That panel's all a bit out of shape, so it's not sitting flush just there, but once that cap's off, hopefully I'll be able to bend it all back. It's had a couple of knocks on these bottom corners, which I'm not worried about. I'll straighten them out. Underneath, you can see where I've cut that cross into it, clamped it together. So I'm going to first go round, tack it into place. This is going to want cutting across here. You can see it's quite a bit taller, so that's going to want trimming across. I'll do that, and same on the bottom, both sides. So I'll do that. Drag the welder out, set it to stun, like I said, go around, tack it all into place first, make sure I'm happy with everything before I completely buzz it in. And all I'll do with this cross is I'll just completely fill it with weld. It just gives you that little bit of strength. Some people will drill holes in there and plug weld it in. I'll like to put a big cross in there. You can grind it back flush and not see it, or you can leave it there. Yeah, that's it. I'll set the welder to stun and crack on. Pretty well the helmet. Well, I think it's safe to say that's not going anywhere in a hurry. I'll trim it up, finish getting everything welded in, and come back to you. Right, so we're on. All welded up. I'm happy with that. So, you can see where I've welded it. What I've done is I've flattened the welds back a bit. I haven't flattened the welds on the inside, there's not much point. Giving it a coat of etch primer. Giving it a quick coat of normal primer. Then I've smeared seam sealer all over it. Then a quick coat of stone chip. Sorry, then another coat of primer. Not primer, chassis paint, sorry. Then stone chip over the top, and then the whole thing's going to get repainted, the whole back end will get painted and wax oiled or underseal, some sort of underseal on there, just to preserve it. So, same on that side. Actually, I ain't got to try to make it pretty, it's going to have, try to make the underseal pretty and everything, but it's going to have underseal on it. So what's left for me to do is pull these axle stands out, put the torch down, I don't need that for this job, drop it down on its wheels and hope it doesn't collapse. Go and do this bloody jack if you can turn the handle. Lovely stuff. Oh, you probably can't see very well there. Right, now I'm absolutely filthy. In fact, I'll put you on the stand, hold on. Right, a couple of tips then before I finish this video up. What would I say? Check your wiring. Once you I've still got the wiring to put together on there. Make sure check your lights. Keep your eyes on the lights for a couple of days. Make sure you haven't melted the wiring loom inside it. If you start getting any sort of wiring anomalies and you're sure you've wired it up right, you can just pull the wiring. If you cut the wiring where it comes out the loom, there it comes out the chassis. Pull it back through the chassis. It's under the driver's side footwell. There's a big hole in the top of the chassis. Pull the wiring all the way through and run it on the inside of the chassis just with some P-clips or something like that. If you're really unsure, just repair the broken bits, whatever bits are damaged, and yeah, you're good to go. Always, whenever you've been doing welding, especially this amount of welding, there's quite a lot of heat gone in there, a lot of sparks everywhere, a lot of grinding. When you've finished your job, make yourself a brew, have a sit down for an hour, and just stay with it. Just make sure that nothing's going to catch fire, you haven't sent sparks all over your garage and stuff like that. Another key tip is don't cut off more than you need. Measure it a couple of times. Say like you measure, like I think it was 11.5 inches or something like that, 11.5 that I wanted it to finally be, and I cut it at just short of 11 inches. It's easier to cut more off than it is to add more on. So yeah, just be aware of that. Yeah, just use axle stands, be safe, use eye protection, all the stuff that I usually forget to do while I'm making a video, ironically. And yeah, take your time. It's not a complicated job at all. It's really not. I wouldn't even say it's a hard job as such. It's awkward at times, and especially when if you're laid on the floor welding. I don't like welding upside down, but sometimes you've got to do it. Yeah, it's just take your time. A competent person that's with welding experience and that's decent with the spanners can do that in a weekend easily. I've got little bits, even though I've had my jumper on, I've got little bits of metal grindings and I can feel them in my skin. Yeah, that's it. Try not to set fire to yourself and be safe. Yeah, Is there anything else? Battery. Always make sure you're disconnecting the battery when you're welding. I'll tell you a little story. Put that down, that looks a bit weird, doesn't it? I'll tell you a true story. Just 2 minutes, bear with me. A few years ago, I had an old Mark 4 Transit, Mark 5, the smiley face Transit. I brought it, it'd been sat for a couple of years, and I had to do the usual welding on it, the outer sills, inner wheel arches, new wings, the steps, and others. I was welding on it for days and days, and when I first got it, the battery was completely dead. It was reading like 2 volts or something like that. It was completely dead. But I didn't disconnect the battery. By the time I'd finished welding, it started first turn of the key without being charged up. And that's the God's honest truth. But if that battery had been fully charged, once I'd started, yeah, it could have been in a bit of bother there. It could have been exploding batteries and stuff. So, yeah, always make sure you disconnect your battery and any sensitive sort of things, you know what I mean. And that's it. Yeah, good to go. I'm going to put the wiring back in. That's a 10-minute job. And yeah, I'm thinking I might change the springs. I'm not going to do a video on that. I've got spring videos and various different suspension videos on the YouTube. So I'll see how it goes. Right, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notification bell, all that lot. Follow us on Instagram and stuff like that, all that jazz. Right, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.